someplace that has that consistent track.
Hello, and can we go ahead and get started?
Yes.
Welcome to the Township of Sparta Environmental Commission meeting for Thursday, January 9th, 2025. It is 7:01 and the meeting is called to order. We are live in the council chambers and at the municipal building, and also live streaming at https://www.youtube.com at sparta_twp/streams. Notice of the actions taken at this meeting were provided on Thursday, January 9th, as well as adequate notice of all the meetings for the Sparta Environmental Commission were provided to the press and the public on January 7th, 2025. They're also posted on the website. The first order of business tonight is swearing in and reappointment of member Barbara Kazaka. You want to meet me down there? Okay. After me, I, Barbara Kazaka,
I, Barbara Kazaka,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully, impartially, and lawfully carry out my duties
that I will faithfully and impartially and lawfully carry out my duties
as member of the Environmental Commission of the Township of Sparta,
as a member of the Environmental Commission of the Township of Sparta,
County of Sussex,
County of Sussex,
State of New Jersey,
State of New Jersey,
in accordance with the laws and Constitution of the State of the United States of America and the State of New Jersey.
in accordance with the laws and constitutions of the United States of the State of New Jersey. Thank you.
So this is the formal part, but you still have to go and sign.
Yes. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, now we can do the formal roll call with all members.
Thank you.
Official.
Deputy Mayor Marjorie Murphy.
Here.
Chairwoman Kimberly Knoll.
Here.
Vice Chair Neil Sauerwein.
Here.
Christine Dunbar.
Present.
Ted Gall. Christine Rogers.
Here.
Linda Tower.
Here.
Barbara Kozolka.
Here.
Landon Tanieri.
Here.
Robert Otto.
Here.
John Grove.
Here.
All right, thank you. Please join me in salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, at this time, we have no minutes to approve, so we'll move on to correspondence. The latest bit of correspondence was from JCP&L. It's a multi-permit application for the vegetative maintenance that they do, primarily around all the power lines. This is, I think we've seen this before. I believe we get this every year. And what they do is they cut back the vegetation that is all along the power lines, make sure there's any dangerous limbs or trees, they get cut back, or trees growing up into the power lines. We obviously have a large portion of the power lines that are in Sussex County here in Sparta. I think we've all seen that before. I didn't have any questions or comments for them. I don't know if anybody else had any.
I was able to make a call to the Dubois and Associates because I was confused by their map. And I wanted to make sure what I was looking at. And I didn't feel like Sparta was very well delineated. And I wanted to get a sense of the amount of power lines and also the continuity of them. And there was one particular little area that seemed to be darker than others, so which it led me to believe that that was an area that they were focusing on. But what she said is that no, really, it's all of Sparta and all of the power lines. Yeah, that they'll be doing work on. And our concern would be the impact on the freshwater wetlands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. We had no applications to review at this time, so we will move on to public comment. Are there any members of the public who would like to make a comment tonight? Hi,
Hi, I'm
Sally.
Sally Larson. Mountain Spring Drive, Sparta.
Could you say that again?
Mountain Spring
Thank
Drive. I'm here because I understand from the town council meeting that there will be no representative from the Environmental Commission on the planning board, and I'm not happy about that. Is there anything this body can do about that? I mean, do we have it, we just got to move on, go to meetings and protest, or what? So,
Sally, I just want to let you know that, that Ms. Dunbar will be, she is an alternate, and anything that you need to get to the planning board will be done wholeheartedly in full esteem with whatever you're feeling. We're all on the same page. There was a legal matter that should have been fixed a long time ago that wasn't. And you do have representation. And you, not to worry, everything that happens here will be very much taken in consideration, as was before with Ms. Dunbar on as a full member instead of being an alternate. But there was, and I really can't go into detail, but everything will be as it was before.
Well,
With as much as I can say with the town, the environmental board will be definitely represented. 100%.
how's that going to happen?
It will get to different members. All the information that you need to get there will get to the members. There's several members, Joan Furman, Mark Scott, Rob Bleakley, that will be taken into consideration. And anytime there is not somebody to vote, then the alternates get in there. But there was, and that's about all I can say right now.
I could offer up an opinion because I spoke during the reorg, and I'm on the environmental commission. So I would just kind of urge everyone to look back at the last 3 years since we had a couple change ups in town council and look at some of the stuff that's passed despite environmental commission having an existing voice already, and making advice to the planning board that wasn't always considered. So I think, without knowing everything, but respecting that town council probably has a plan, and that we're all kind of aligned with some big picture items, that I know that if the question is, will there be a voice? I'll be a voice that shows up at planning board meetings and tries to stumble through some words to make a case if there is a case to be made. But I feel like we're on the right path. So I'm gonna stand by and see what happens in the next little bit. And if there's not some changes, then I'll be up there with you.
Okay,
Right.
keep me posted.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to add a comment a little bit to that, that even though there's the statutory boards in town, environmental commission's in this unique position where they're only advisory. And as a town, I'm sure there's only so much we can do, and I think we have to look above in a way. If environmental priority is such a thing in New Jersey at the moment, hopefully then the state and other people involved in the policy at the minute in this state can address this situation going on around the state, different planning boards and environmental commissions, and really revitalize or reviewing maybe the role and impact that these type of commissions have, because it's certainly something that's going to be a trend, and I don't think Sparta is the only one that's suffering such, situations right now.
It's my understanding that the MULA does not prohibit environmental commission members from voting on the planning board, but it does not require it either. So that comes back to the town council to make that determination. And, be clear that I will be a representative for my term to the end of the year, sharing all of the things that we do here in the Environmental Commission, the New Jersey Conservation Blueprint, which we study, the environmental resources inventory, the Highlands Council's resource information. All of that is considered when we review applications for development, and is put together in a report that we send to the planning board. The only problem with that is that there will not be, at least at this time, a voice in terms of, we'll have a voice, but we will not have a vote. We will not have a vote to make the decision whether or not the waivers for development are approved or not. And so I guess it is my feeling, because of all of the hard work that we have done in the past 3 years, that that we provide a balance, actually, to in the planning board, and essential information that we cannot get from the town's employees because we do not have an environmental consultant. I feel like our hard work, going forward to prevent irresponsible development is essential that we have a vote. It's essential that we have our one vote. And I just look forward to, some sort of a balance that will be achieved eventually.
I'll add another comment, because I had started an email that I didn't send after the reorg, and I'm just looking at it. So we are an advisory committee or commission or board, and so all we can do is make advice. I've looked into it a little bit. I understand we could suggest ordinances, but if we look at some of the things that have been passed in recent years, there's been significant variances that have been approved to allow projects that I don't necessarily, that I would have questions about. So I guess I'd be looking there. At first, I was looking at, could we pass these ordinances? But now I'm questioning why variances were given on certain projects. So I think if we're looking for next steps starting 2025 with a new fresh town council and looking to get on the same page with planning board and making good choices for the future of Sparta, that's what I'm looking for.
I'm Vivian Perlmutter, 5 Morgan Drive, Sparta. I was at that meeting, and I don't think just being an alternate and just not having a vote is enough. I think that there was a court case somewhere in New Jersey that a non-dash went on and on and on and on, telling us that, oh no, environmental commission person can't have a vote. And I don't agree with his logic on this. I don't think that being on the environmental commission in any ways taints a person and makes them unworthy of having a vote on the planning board. And I urge you to, I would be writing letters to the newspaper. I would be publicizing the fact that the town council has decided to denigrate the Environmental Commission, and I find it an abomination. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you, Vivian.
Marilyn Chapman, Hunter's Lane. In view of the lengthy body that Christine Dunbar has contributed, it's, to me, totally unacceptable that she will not have a vote on the town council.
It's going to planning board.
Planning board, I'm sorry. I thought all of these bodies were about protecting Sparta. And we've had these tremendous violations of good judgment in the county. We need to have a voice present to speak up and be there all the time.
Thank you, Marilyn. Anyone else?
Sounds like we're all on the same page here. I do.
Say your name.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm Christy Whitehouse, 404 East Shore Trail. I was concerned but also confused at the meeting the other night. I have received some clarification, so I think I will trust the process because, you know, I really don't understand the process, but from what you're saying, Margie, you know, I've heard that from other members. I would like to say that we need to somehow elevate the level of the Environmental Commission so that it has more power rather than just being an advisory committee. And as part of that, we need to be advocating for ordinances that that require green infrastructure and green construction and sustainable development, which I know we haven't had any of that. So, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir on that, but I guess my question is, what would it take for all of us here to increase our power in the community?
Thank you.
I think an answer to that is we need more people involved in our town. We have 20,000 plus people in this town, and everyone has a great perspective and a valid idea that should be heard. And there's only so many people here, right? You guys all came out, and we could all brainstorm and work together and create some recommendations on some ordinances, but we really need to, you know, get the town involved in this. And there's only, you know, so many hands that can work on so many things. So we're going to go over some ordinance recommendations we have, but there's obviously so much more work that this commission can do, but we're only so many people, sadly. So hopefully we can continue to encourage some more people to come.
Something that was discussed in the Open Space Committee, it came up often from Barbara and from Dan and Dean was.
Speak into the mic,
I'm
please.
sorry. One of the ideas or options that came up in the Open Space Committee was to have the Environmental Commission take a larger role in the open space spending that happens in the township. So the open space tax that's collected every year isn't budgeted or forecasted years ahead. It's sort of an undelineated fund. And one of the suggestions within the open space plan was to allow the Environmental Commission a larger role in budgeting that money. And I think, given your question on how could we take a larger role, it might be a good time to talk about that.
Any other comments, questions?
Hi, Sally Larson again. I just want to say I agree with Christy, and it seems to me from a big picture perspective, the Environmental Commission has less responsibility than it had previously, and I think that's a mistake. And I think that's a bad signal to send. So that's just my opinion. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for all the comments and feedback. We do appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on to reports. I should have mentioned this to you. The town council person usually gives a report, also just whatever happens to be relevant to this commission. And then Neil and Landon does on the trails, and then planning board from Chris Dunbar. So should have mentioned that to you beforehand. Landon, do you want to go first since?
Sure, I can go
Okay.
In total, the Trails Committee's had 2 meetings. Our next one's going to be next Monday, most likely here. Not exactly in this room, but probably in one of the side rooms. Currently, we're still looking into our top 3 list of projects, and they range in size. First one's addressing a trail between the Sparta Middle School and the Sparta High School. The second one is looking at the Ogden Mine Railroad and observing the gap there and looking into that. And the final trail is looking at the other abandoned railroad in town over by Route 15. I'm going to say nothing about any of the, I don't want anyone to misinterpret what I'm saying, that any of these trails are going to happen right away. A lot of negotiation, other things need to go on. However, we are working on our due diligence as a committee to address each project, all of the flaws, all of the potential upsides, the benefits, the cost, of course, and the time length for it, so that we can come to our rec committee and then thus later the town council and any other boards that would want to give feedback. I would ideally like some feedback from this board and come to a consensus as a town about what we really want to prioritize. And there's some pretty key projects that we have, so especially that final project that incorporates a lot of larger stakeholders and already has progress being done outside of Sparta Township. So we're almost just catching up and doing our due diligence to make sure we're on top of it as well. So I'm excited to see the progress that trail committee has in the new year. We have some really great members that have professional experience as well. Also some members in the crowd here that are offering their great perspectives. So it does mean a lot that people are seeing a value in that committee, and I look forward to seeing the progress that we get to do. And hopefully we can create some sort of comprehensive plan at the end of this and some other recommendations and such that was outlined in that original resolution passed back in July. So that's our goal, chipping away at that resolution and making sure that everything goes well.
Can you say again when the meeting is?
It will be Monday's the 13th, correct?
Yeah.
So Monday the 13th at 7 p.m. Here at the municipal building, most likely in one of the side rooms. And then we're going to be planning on sending all of the meetings out to Jenny, getting that out in the public. So any person who's interested can tag along, and hopefully as we up our media side of things here at the township, we can get that out on our Facebook, Instagram, etc., and try to pull out all of our stakeholders.
Neil, you want to go next?
I don't have a mic.
Oh, here, take
I should bring my own. The master plan subcommittee met on the 19th of December, and we discussed the results of the survey again for those of the subcommittee who weren't there the last time. And we've also talked about the focus groups that we're getting together and who's going to be representing them. We have, I think, 7 different focus groups consisting of first responders, historical society, ourselves and other commissions, and I think, and there are 4 other ones I don't have internet access right now, so I don't know them off the top of my head. And that's going to start, going to start getting those focus groups together this month, I believe. Our next meeting is sometime this month. I'm not clear on the date. It wasn't stated in the last email I got, so I'll have to find out about that.
Thank you. Marjorie, any updates from town council? And if there aren't, then.
Only that, just to know that the town council supports this group tremendously, and we value every member of it. And we're all on the same page of taking care of this town the way it should be, and that's wholeheartedly. Just, it will be done. Thank you,
Thank
and
you.
you will have a representative voice.
Thank you. I apologize, Emily, I did not introduce you. I'm so sorry. We have a new secretary, everyone. Emily, if you didn't meet her on the way in. Emily King, right? Yes. Okay, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. Okay, update on the open space and recreation plan. So at this time, the second and final hearing is scheduled for January 15th, so next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Barbara Davis from the Land Conservancy of New Jersey was going to come to answer any questions, but she has now, due to an urgent reason, had to cancel her participation. So I'm in communication with the planning board chair to just make sure he wants to move forward with it, or if he wants to change the date. So right now, it still is scheduled for next Wednesday, the 15th. The final version, did it get posted, or I think it did get posted.
Yeah, it should
have
been by the end of the day.
Yep, I think it did. So the final version, I do have some copies, but it is a lot of pages, so I did not make a lot of copies. But the final version should be posted. The changes from the last version that was posted in October are pretty, not significant, but there are quite a few changes. From the last one that was just posted, there's only a couple minor changes that were primarily removing any reference to the Rossi, removing reference to minutes from that last planning board meeting. And there was some changes in the amount of open space that we have in the township. Primarily, they added the brownfields that used to be the landfill. With those changes, anytime you change any of the open space designated lands, you end up having to redo a lot of the document because it ends up changing the maps, any maps that are in there, and it ends up changing any of the grids at the back. So those are the primary changes. I'd say it did not substantively, like, they did not change the amount of open space dramatically to add that, but now it is really a very accurate document and recording of all the open space that we do have in Sparta. So keep an eye on if we will be moving forward with that hearing next week or not. Any questions about the open space plan and where we're at?
Great work on that, everybody.
Yeah, great work, everyone. Hopefully we can get it over the finish line. Next item is the Green Team resolution, which has to do with the third item of Sustainable New Jersey certification. So Sparta is up, our certification with the Sustainable New Jersey is up this year. Do you want to talk about that, Neil?
Yes, the first,
Oh, sorry, keep taking.
yes, the first deadline for submitting our new actions to renew our our certification is, I believe, February 22nd. We're going to, we haven't met since our last meeting in December, so hopefully we can all get together next week, or in the next 2 weeks anyway, if everybody's on board with that. But the requirements for the green team resolution, or the green team requirement, what was I going to say? They have changed somewhat, so we're going to reestablish our green team, which will include members of the commission itself, because we didn't have a lot of public participation, or we haven't had any yet. Hopefully, people will get on board with that.
I think the only other thing I'd add to that is we discovered that anybody can upload documents. Christine, you were able to upload.
Yes.
the documents that you wanted
Yes.
to.
So I uploaded all of the new documents for any event that we hosted this past year. That's all been put into the system. But now what we have to do is, in order to get to the 150 points, which is the minimum in order to submit for the February deadline, we have to resubmit all of the actions that have expired. So it's basically just going through each action and uploading new documentation. And then we'll be at our minimum, and then we can work from there to go, because ultimately our goal is to go from bronze certification and try to get it up to silver eventually. So we're going to keep working on that.
And so I think, Christine, you had the Salt Watch information to update.
I need to upload that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be a part of that. I believe it's a total of 15 points.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think the open space plan can go too. So now that we have that final version, we can upload that. Any comments or questions on Sustainable New Jersey and that? Presentation schedule.
Yes. So I had talked to you last time about our AmeriCorps Watershed Ambassador for the Walk Hill Watershed is going to be coming and presenting about lead. So we, for those of the public who are here, we started a quarterly speaker series where every quarter of the year we'll have a speaker come present in person on a different environmental topic. And then the presentation will also be broadcast online through our live stream on our YouTube channel for the township. So based on the Sustainable Jersey certification, there is a subcategory that's specifically for lead. It's called Lead Education and Outreach. So what I decided is we're going to count Jenna's presentation towards that action to get us 5 points. And her presentation is going to be on February 13th at our 7 o'clock meeting right here in the Town Hall building during our regularly scheduled Environmental Commission meeting. I have a flyer that she sent me that I could pass around, but we can post this on our Environmental Commission website. And then to fulfill our first quarter speaker series, I reached out to Lisa Chiarello, who's from Rutgers Cooperative Extension, and she's agreed to come to our March 13th meeting, and she's going to do a presentation about native plants. So this is the flyer on that. So one will be on February 13th, and the other will be on March 13th.
Is there going to be, because we get those notices about lead testing in our water, and there's always confusion about that. I know at least within Lake Mohawk, and I know I've heard some explanations. Oh, it's the house that they test at as lead pipes or something. And then also we know that there's the regional geology has inputs for arsenic, lead, all that good stuff. So that's going to be touched on a little bit, do you
I
think?
don't know how specific it'll be to the
To our area.
Yeah, to
but-
our area. This was training that she got through working with the EPA.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other comments or questions on that? All right, Salt Watch updates. Christine Dunbar?
I just wanted to tell you that I have available an abundance of Salt Watch testing strips if you have not received yours yet. So if you could just send me an email, we'll get those to you. And you can start with getting your baseline data and then sampling 48 hours before and within 48 hours after the snowstorms. And I think I previously recommended that you order 7 strips, one to kind of get a baseline, and then the other 6 will be for the 3 storms before and after that we might have in February, since it's supposed to be our snowiest month. And I also would really appreciate it if you could send me the site that you're monitoring. My goal still is to have all 5 of Sparta's watersheds, being monitored. If that's possible, great. If not, that's fine also. What's important is the surface water that you're monitoring probably is important to you because it's nearby, right? And you want to make sure that it doesn't exceed that 230 parts per million. And we want to know how it's doing through time. And that, of course, will be reported to the NJDEP, the Watershed Institute, and they'll keep a record of this, and then they analyze and present the results every November so we can see how the state is doing.
I think we also went out with a press release last year with our results. Actually, it was in the spring.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any comments or questions on that?
Which watershed are we missing, or which watersheds maybe?
Well, the Pequest is our smallest percentage of surface area, and that goes out along 517 where Our Lady of the Lake Pope John is. It goes out that way towards Andover, and it ends at approximately where Perona Farms is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Earth Day celebration?
Okay, I talked to Kara Johnson at Sparta Middle School. At our last meeting, we had talked about the idea of moving our Earth Day fair from the municipal building like we did in 2023 to the middle school instead, because that would give us the opportunity to host it indoors in the event of rain. So she worked to get approval from her administrator. The principal liked the idea. The paperwork has been submitted, and it's going to be looked at for approval at the next Board of Ed meeting, which I believe is the 23rd of January. So that will finalize whether we can move forward with the date, but the date she was trying for was May 3rd, because if you remember, we were trying to avoid some of the other Earth Day events and Easter and Passover and spring break. So there were a lot of considerations, but we're trying for May 3rd. So I should know by the time of our next meeting. The one thing that we had talked about that we were concerned about was if there would be a cost. She thought there might be a cost for having a security guard there, but she didn't know the final dollar amount. So she said it has to go through the Board of Ed, and then she would be able to tell us a final amount. But she thought it was like $50 an hour for his time. But she said she would confirm and see if anything can be waived because they're going to partner with us on it. So I'll have that information by the next meeting.
And I was supposed to send you that list of vendors that we either contacted or did have last time, so I think you did get that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Is this? This will be our second time that we're doing it. We had an Arbor Day celebration last year. That one was slightly different in that we partnered with the schools, and some kids from the environmental science classes and some of the science classes came to Sparta Glen, and we had different presentations. There was, I don't remember them all, the mushroom.
Yeah, we had a presentation about the macroinvertebrates, which are aquatic insects in the stream. We had one about invasive species, presentation about stormwater management. So it was different presentations, but it was for a select group. This will be open to the public. There'll be different vendors that will each have stations. We had a kids corner with activities for people's children to come. So it was geared as a free family event. So we're going to aim for the same this year.
Yeah, I think vendor is a confusing term because we're not selling anything.
Right.
It's not a farmer's market type of thing. It's more educational and family oriented, more like a fair than.
Because we did it with the first one was here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. That's right. Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Food pantry.
Yeah.
We're trying to do the exact same thing, but just potentially move the site to a bigger venue.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the problem here, it was lovely here. That is a great
And it was sunny
meadow
that
out
day.
there, and it was nice that day. But we did have worries that if it rained, we really didn't have too many options,
Right.
so, yeah. If
But
we
there
do
were
it,
things for sale.
huh?
There were things for sale.
Yeah, we had a couple of food vendors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, food vendor, yeah,
Food vendors, yeah.
yeah.
Great.
Wait, Smokey the Bear.
Huh?
Smokey the Bear.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
we had
bear.
Smokey the Bear, that was great. All right, client vulnerability assessment, this was that free technical assistance. I think, were you looking into that one, Neil?
Yes,
Okay.
I think we're going to take advantage of that.
Okay. So the next step on that is to contact them? And,
Yes, that's in the hands of the professionals now.
okay. All right, moving on to new business. So as Rob alluded to, we kind of have been talking about what are the plans or the items that we want to tackle in 2025. Maybe looking at some resolution or ordinances that we could bring to the attention of the town council and other planning and zoning board organizations. And this is the list that we have right now. I know that there are different people who might be, should I say, championing some of these different ones. And so I know some of them are also in different stages of being drafted or are just ideas at this point. So I think Rob, buffer zone was you. Do you want to speak a little bit about that one?
Well, some of these, I see some people here that would know about. Lake Mohawk has like a shoreline buffer zone policy, so there's kind of no reason not to build off of that. If you're adjacent a waterway or near sensitive like watershed, you could plant some native plants that would trap detritus from sheet flow events and keep it from going into that body of water. Some of that, if you're interested, you could pull up the Sparta Code, Chapter 25, and in there, I think we have environmental regulations, and it's kind of to the point that Vivian and Marilyn and some of the others, the point of strengthening environmental, I see an opportunity there where we could build out that Chapter 25 with Sparta and put in some, I would add dark skies, question mark to this, green infrastructure. I think that we could partner with maybe Lake Mohawk, some of the beaches. Some people here, I think, would probably be happy to help with that, and I could work easily with them. Stormwater management, green infrastructure. So, yeah. Anyway, buffer zone is just kind of, it's something that Lake Mohawk started to do as kind of, hey, let's show the community what's possible. So let's put in a no-mow zone adjacent the waterways in areas where it'll protect pollutants from going into the lake and also discourage waterfowl from getting out of the lake and doing their business, creating materials that would then go back into the lake. There's obvious, with all of these things, there's a trade-off. So people want to just see kind of a nice clean transition from plantings to waterway, especially, you know, if it's their private section of, and again, like I'm going to use Lake Mohawk. So we need to just encourage the types of plants, and I think we're going to probably talk about native plants, trees, suggestions. These things look nice, and make an easy thing for people to choose. If it's pretty, why wouldn't you do it? You know, and you'll feel good about it. Then the question is, can we can do, and this would probably be for town council, carrot and stick. We'll make it look pretty, we'll make it accessible and available, arm people with the information. If town council can create some kind of breaks or benefits for people, I don't know. I know Lake Mohawk maybe, you know, that would be anyway, said too much. But on to, I think someone did native plants, right?
Rob, I think you bring up a good point, though. I mean, I'm looking at, you're saying chapter 25 environmental regulations.
There's nothing in there.
It's tiny. It's when you click above cable TV, it has maybe 1/8. It's, you know, this is 1/8 of that.
So that's the
There's a lot of room for improvement there.
2025. Let's do chapter 25.
So I think that's a good.
Yeah.
We could definitely then, I guess,
Yeah,
look at our peers,
right.
see what they got. It's a good slogan. We gotta get the people involved, right?
All right, sounds like there's definitely support for that one. Native plants, Linda?
Yeah, so along those same lines, my idea is to, I wrote drafts of two different ordinances. And the first one is aimed at the municipal properties. As the largest landowner, we should be committing as a township for all our new plant installations to have 70% native plants. Like, we should be recommending no-mow zones that are planted with native species that are beautiful, like in Station Park, in Station Park along the Walk Hill River, and in right by the Mohawk Avenue School. Like, they're so visible and they're full of mugwort and they're gross and they could be beautiful. And it's something that we as a town should be leading on and be able to point to for other property owners in town. A lot of this verbiage was taken from other townships that have done similar work. A lot of it is from Jersey City because they hired professionals to write them for them, which was very nice. There's also limitations on herbicides that we can ask the township to commit to. And there's benchmarks, first year, 50% native plantings, no invasive plantings. Like, I'm not exactly sure what goes in on recreation projects. I'm assuming that the Recreation Committee, since we have members on the Recreation Committee, is discussing those things. But in the future, like, we should have it in our environmental regulations that there are standards, minimum design standards around environmental plantings. There's also a piece in here about community education and using the Environmental Commission to use these projects to educate the town at large about these native plantings, and we're already doing that. But it sort of just links the two as an ordinance. It talks about managed natural landscapes being okay, and there being no like a prohibition on the township incentivizing losing managed natural landscapes. Oh, they're ugly. This recreation manager decided XYZ, and we want to make it a field now. But if it's already a managed natural landscape within, our township, then it stays. So just putting things like that on paper that could be glanced back, it doesn't actually increase our costs hardly at all from what I can, I worked in Parks and Recreation for a long time, so it's not more expensive to manage one way than the other. It's just an awareness and a guidelines.
Isn't it less water often?
Oh, sure. There you go. Nobody wants to go and water ornamental plantings for like 3 years. Do you guys have questions on that, or before I move on to the individuals?
Was that the $3,000 penalty? Was that the municipal?
No. No,
Was
that
both.
was the individuals.
Okay, and then I made a few notes, I skimmed it, but that caught my eye. Then the invasive plant regulations, section A, and then A, the root system. I would add language that says what the planter, barrel, or vessel of such design material is comprised of, as we talk about microplastics. And, I could just see, when we talk about like the plastic bag ban, and then they made these just heavier gauge plastic bags that the same problem persists. So I could see someone skirting that and putting, it's a container, but it's going to be the one that the plant came in, and it's going to break down into microplastics in the soil, and the plant's going to just grow out of it anyway. So, and then I would, with some of this stuff, I encourage anyone to look up the barberry eradication from like 1900. There's some pretty good visuals there, comics that they ran in newspapers. But then the tree of light, or tree of heaven, is it? Was it? Yeah. So the tree of heaven, I would kind of call out a few specific really bad things.
There's also something in there, and I realize my copies are kind of mixed up, so it's confusing. They're very similar, but with the municipal properties, there's also a piece that says we would maintain a list online with links to other websites and recommendations for nurseries and where to buy them and alternatives. And I think that would be really helpful and go a long way as well. And as far as the 3,000, that was for the individuals. And what I said with that was if barriers for invasive plants, if you have to have them in a container, they can't be within 10 feet of any property line. Anything that gets within 10 feet of a property line, or anything that was pre-existing that's within 10 feet of a property line, once it's a violation by the town, and we have to go way deep on this because I don't know how all of this works, but once it's a violation for the town, they have a year to mitigate because of, freeze thaw, like who knows when it's found. And if they can't, then they would have to pay the town to remove it for them up to $3,000. That's why I put that in there.
So yeah, if you were going to do this, I would say we would, it would be cool if we could partner with small local businesses and nurseries to say, stock these from these. And if they knew that the municipality was purchasing a large quantity of them, if we could tie them into like an Earth Day plant sale, then we could probably get the cost down and make it work for everyone, and just show people how beautiful these options can be and just make it easy for them. And I had one other thing, but sorry, dominating.
And for individual or private property, I also put in any landscape plan that's submitted to the township must have 70% native plants. They can't be a monoculture because we don't want everything to to die. I mean, I don't particularly care if there's a huge swath of sumac, right? But I don't want, you know, a bad year for sumac and then it dies and everyone points to it and says, what a terrible idea. So there's, you know, and these were recommended by professionals. There's recommendations for how to, if there's 5 plants, they need to be 2 different species. If there's 20 plants, they need to be 5 different species, whatever it was. And no invasive plants, but they could obviously use non-natives for particular areas like turf, and it also encourages, you know, managed landscape areas within the town's building code in large commercial projects, which I think would also be pretty great.
With the fines or, you know, the invasive plants that you would really pay attention to, I think we could also narrow that down to like Japanese knotweed, the bamboos, non-native bamboos. There's a couple that are like really bad that you could kind of say. It's not like your magnolias
Right.
necessarily.
Right, and there's like definitions for like invasive versus non-native.
Right.
and, yeah, problematic.
Yeah.
But that's a good idea. And all I did for the fines was just reference the New Jersey statute that lets municipalities fine their residents. So again, that all has to be like dug into more. I definitely need advice on all of that.
So when I read this, it was confusing, and I'm used to reading confusing things. I write confusing things too.
It's out of order. The pages aren't.
No.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, so when it gets to the point where I think we develop this, we're gonna have to make it really easy for construction, building, whatever, also for enforcement and everything, like, put it all together. Have you seen the Rutgers has like those white papers that are pretty clear, like, just print this off and follow this, or give it to your landscaper. If we could do that and just make it easy and be like, okay, you've picked 3 from this column, that's all you get, then you do this. So it would be cool if there's some kind of online like landscape design tool, or they could just,
Yeah,
someone
but
could just
I
move
don't
on.
want, we can't reinvent the wheel.
No, I know.
But we should certainly link to all those papers and like know where they are and point to them.
All right.
Want to send it to Jim and Gene to get their feedback as well on like some of the percentages and stuff for their knowledge, and because they'll be the ones implementing this if it were to get passed.
Yeah, that's probably a good next step if we have a good working draft.
I think maybe I'll combine them into one document. And
Okay.
there's a little, it's easier to keep them separate, like thought-wise.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the best thing to do, but
What about I know the tree one's coming, but those almost seem like they belong together, because,
well, they all belong in chapter 25.
All right, so.
How are we gonna define invasive plant? Is it based on the invasive strike team list?
I had that in there in a previous version. And was told that I can't point to an external list.
Okay.
So I didn't name everything in here because obviously that list changes. Doesn't change so fast that our ordinances can't be updated, but I can't imagine anyone going back and updating the ordinance unless someone writes us about like the shade tree. They asked us to review that, so we did. So I don't really know how best to skin that cat. That's a terrible thing to say.
can you point them to like
Yeah.
the
I mean, I
construction or
couldn't-
building or something?
Yeah, they said I couldn't do it in the ordinance itself, but it says in the ordinance that we will maintain a list on our website. And so,
We'll just say, please refer, like, put a little subject in there that says the most recent native plant list or invasive plant list, refer to those.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of callbacks throughout the code that kind of say, look at this noise ordinance and then this amendment in this other section. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm happy to put it in there because I think it makes a lot of sense to just be able to click on it and go right to the page. So I guess we'll do that. We could go back and do that until someone tells us to take it out.
Yeah, I think the lawyers have to review it anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
They can advise us.
Or I guess they change it every year, right? I was just
Yeah.
looking at it, it's like 2024, then I assume we'll get a new one for
Yeah.
2025, so that'd be great.
Those plants are.
Always
become invasive
changing,
or
right?
move
We-
in. Yep.
Can I ask, would it be helpful for us not only to click on the plant lists, but to click on actual landscape designs of pollinator gardens in different environmental conditions, like wet, dry, sunny, shady, that sort of thing? Because I do know that Rutgers has available 8 different scenarios. They're beautiful color scenarios, all native plants that you can choose from depending on, the situation around your home or even our municipality. So if they could click on those assemblages, and they'll actually have a visual in their mind, and they all contain a nice variety of plants, not just one plant. There's several different sizes and such.
Yeah.
If
I
we
was
in-
very impressed with that.
If we could install some of those exemplars in our open space, how many points would we get? And then just say, here's a picture of it in all these seasons, and go visit it and see it.
That
would
would
be
certainly be
huge.
towards the education piece, I would imagine. Yeah, and I think if the town council passed this and it says we have to have this on our website, I mean, that would be beautiful. It would be like an amazing reference, like for our ecotype, with like scholarly information from Rutgers and the community extensions. I mean, it would be amazing.
Maybe we could do something like that down at Van Kirk Museum. There's another there, or there's another garden by Lake Mohawk, too.
Yep.
Good idea.
Another website that's super user friendly and would be good for our website is Jersey Friendly Yards, because you can click on the different criteria of your yard. It pulls it up with a picture, a description, and they're all native plants. Yards.com.
So I guess next time I present this, I'll include everything you guys mentioned as far as links, and we could start that piece as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's great. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Amazing work here.
Thank you.
Barbara, tree ordinance. I think we're just about ready to send this
I
one.
think we're waiting for the review, right?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
ready to send this on to the township, so,
Yep.
yeah, okay, that one we'll move forward with right away. Next one is green amendment for the future. And what this is a movement to put requirements for a clean environment in the constitutions of every state. What the townships can do is pass a resolution saying that we want and support the green amendments for the future, and that New Jersey should have this included in the Constitution. So I don't have a draft of what the amendment or the resolution, would look like. If we're interested, I will work on that. That's one that I have on my plate.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll work on that one. The next one is artificial turf. Was that me or you, Rob?
It seems like it belongs in invasive.
What, artificial?
Yeah.
This one is talking about, right now, we have at least 2 fields with artificial turf on it. And more findings are coming out that it just contributes PFAS to the environment. It's not actually a better surface as far as preventing injuries to people who are trying to do sports on it. And so this is a proposal to kind of maybe put a resolution in place that talks about either banning artificial turf going forward, or how we're going to more seriously look at the environmental consequences of putting artificial turf in, should there be any more proposals to do so. So that's kind of an idea. There's no draft of that one at this point either. But I know that there are some that exist out there. So if we are in support of at least drafting something and talking about it further, we can do that.
Isn't there an active proposal in the town to replace artificial turf right now?
It already happened.
No, really, in Station, or not
Ungerman
Station?
Field.
Ungerman Field. Okay, last one, sustainable land use pledge. Was this yours, Rob?
No, this was mine.
Oh, yours. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
thank
this
you.
is, this is a sustainable Jersey action that's, it's worth 10 points, but it's a priority action, so it might help us get to silver someday. Or it'll at least cover for one of the priority actions we need if we don't qualify for I think there are two that we have to have for bronze. This requires a township ordinance that is fairly simple. I think there are like 5 sections of it. Some of our neighboring towns have done it, and it seems, from all the webinars I've attended with Sustainable Jersey, this is one of the easiest ones to get. So maybe I'll forward that to you, Margie, if you want to look at the sample resolution.
Great.
And I had spoken about dark skies briefly and green infrastructure. Dark skies is just kind of, when we look at these applications, we could consider for commercial spaces when we make our recommendations. And we could write this at the same as native plants, just kind of, we suggest that you use shaded lighting, that you have warmer lighting, that you don't have it on 24/7, stuff that doesn't interact poorly with the animals and humans that call this place home. And then the green infrastructure, stormwater management is again, there's overlap with native plants, with no-mow and buffers, but it's just kind of, as we have more storms, more severe rains, what can we do to control and curb sheet flow and the movement of contaminants across paved surfaces? Can we do more pervious rather than impervious? And yeah, just like bioswales, rain gardens, detention basins, stuff like that. Something that we played around with a little bit with when people want to build something in a yard, and Lake Mohawk, so I didn't, but someone who would be trying to increase their pervious cover if they were to put in like a rain garden, in the same way that I think if you have a septic system, if you put in a more efficient septic system, you can put it in a more efficient in a smaller area. So for rain gardens, if you put those in, you could offset kind of your sheet flow, the concerns about impervious cover, because the rain garden's going to capture a lot of that rainwater and not cause the problems that just a fully paved over property would introduce to the surrounds.
I think you mentioned stormwater utility too, right? Like that was also.
I
part of-
didn't, but that's
Okay.
the rain tax.
Yeah.
You
The
can
rain
talk about
tax.
that.
Don't go there.
I had 2 other ideas that I didn't look into too much, but again, asking or setting forward goals for the township's road salting program. Are they, what are the best practices? I know there's been a lot of NJAC webinars about it. And what is our current policy, and can our current policy be best practices? Like, there's a lot of pre-salting that's, not always effective and not always necessary, even if it was effective. So that's something to look in. And then also setting a commitment or for the town to transfer over to an electric fleet. So by, 2030, do they have 20% electric vehicles? Just like a long out goal that they know they're working for, and they'll figure it out as they have to replace vehicles and change infrastructure. If we set it like far enough out and then it could be worked towards without, again, increasing expense. Not like you have to do it tomorrow. It's like, here's our direction for that type of thing.
We did Jim was very helpful, and Michelle also, in looking at the SALT policy. And we filled out the whole questionnaire that Sustainable New Jersey requested about the SALT practices. So we do have that information. I'll definitely share that with you. And I think we have some pretty good policies already, but I
Yeah.
can't remember that there was anything more that we thought.
We could do better with that. There's certain things that I think would decrease our salt usage through time. One of the things is to brine, and then to have, through the years, I have suggested this in the past, that we replace our trucks so that they have updated computer technology that senses the surface and the ambient air temperature, and that controls the type of salt that is appropriate for the freezing depression point of the surface. Like, you'd switch from rock salt to calcium chloride if it gets really cold. And the new trucks also are so designed so that you don't see those, like I see a lot of piles of salt right as you start to go up a slope, right? That's because the truck has downshifted and it dumps some salt there because of the jiggle of the truck and the opening. So with the new trucks, that doesn't happen. And a lot of times, unfortunately, this happens right where there is a drain in the street, a stormwater drain that goes right to a creek.
Always at the bottom of the hill, right?
Bottom of a hill, yeah, at the worst place possible. And also, you don't see them coming around right away to sweep it up. It'll sit there for a week or so, and the wind blows it around and everything. But if there could be a sweeper that comes, and a lot of that could be actually reused, I think, perhaps. So,
Opinion on sand.
pardon me?
What is your opinion on sand?
On sand?
Like, if there were particularly environmental sensitive areas or in a park or something like that, like instead of salting the pathways, potentially, sand.
I think that sand can be used, but you have to remember that can go into cause the sediment pollution also. So I think that if you have really a lot of ice out, that's the time to add a little sand to your mixture, perhaps, a prolonged icing and freezing. You have to be careful also about having an organic, like a beet solution, putting that on the road, because, because that organic matter can wash off into the creeks and cause, a HABs bloom or an algae problem, although it's a kind of an organic solution that's really great, It's not going to add to the contamination of our aquifers, the salt, which eventually happens because the salt percolates down into our groundwater. So there's the pros and cons.
Those are both good. I think we should look at those again, too.
Yeah.
Well, we also have a lot of private roads in the town, right? So maybe looking to entertain transferring some of our standards at the municipal level to these different HOAs when they begin their processes in the winter, to ensure some sort of standard across the town.
Offer like a training or something, or
Right.
Yeah.
We've been looking for, the Watershed Institute and the Musconetcong Watershed Association have been looking for a town that has updated technology to be a showpiece and to invite our staff that does the salting down there to learn and understand how the trucks work and how much money it saves that a town can be very impressive. Yeah, but it's an investment. Good investment.
Any other new business items that we want to add to our list?
I've noticed on the township website, there's a survey on farmland preservation that I hadn't been aware of. I didn't know, I hadn't seen it publicized anywhere, so I didn't know if anybody else was aware of that.
Survey for what?
On farmland preservation.
I'll check in.
I know Jack DeGroot came out to one of our meetings last year and mentioned some of that, but we haven't really followed up as much, and maybe we should tap back into the status of all of that. I know individually some of us might be, but as a municipality, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first time I'd seen the survey, so,
And in our open space plan, we do have, I think there's the 3 farms, the 3 preserved farms that we have are outlined in here. I can't find the page right now, as well as how much land is documented in the open space plan also.
And
Can't
that's
find
the
it at my
preserved,
fingertips.
Right.
Preserved farmland, yeah. Yeah, and they're starting a new one too, I think.
maybe I think that's what the survey is
survey
on,
is.
Oh, okay.
on our website.
Okay.
That must be the county one.
All right, yeah, but we can follow up and find out more information about it for next meeting. All right, anything else for the good of the residents of Sparta and the environment?
Just so you know, I did confirm it is the correct version that is under news and announcements. It did not push it up forward, but it's still the one that says open space master plan.
Okay,
But it just, it'll still show October, but the new plan is definitely on there.
okay, great. Thank you. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, I'm sorry. Was there a hand? Oh, I'm sorry, Vivian, go ahead.
If you're making a list of plants to put into people's gardens, please mention if they're deer resistant somewhat. Because I just went through a huge landscape thing and the landscaper was very careful to use native plants and everything else. And a few days later, a lot of it was eaten up. And I don't even live in an area with a lot of deer, but if they see food, they go for it. Thank
And
you.
even deer-resistant food they will eat if they're hungry
They're
enough.
hungry enough.
Well, this is what the landscaper said, it's supposed to be deer resistant. He got to the point where he said, well, maybe after they don't like it so much, the others won't come. I said, well, they don't have restaurant reviews that the others,
No deer yelp.
no.
They came up on my deck and ate everything.
I know, it's great. All right, do I have a motion? Sorry.
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Chris Dunbar. A second?
Second.
Thanks, Rob. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.